Hi, my name is Dan Paulson, and I'm an independent researcher. I've been working with Genesis, the Bible, finding a numbering grid system in there that's not what this video is about. In this video, what I want to do is talk about how to interpret the material in a way that it becomes mentally interactive. That I'm going to suggest that there is something nested in the Bible, that there's a pathway that one can recover through an interpretation process of the material. And that's what I want to make this video about. What I'm going to suggest is that the material is very cryptic, and there's a way to interpret it that extracts that template. But the way to interpret it is very crucial, and it's very exacting. And the reason is, if somebody nested material in here, or if they had a template and they created a story off of it, they used a process. What we need to do is re-engineer that process to get back to the template. And that's something that I have done. In this video, what I want to do is read a very short Genesis 12. This is the one where Abram and Sarai are right off the bat. They're in a place of famine and they have to go to Egypt, and Pharaoh marries Sarai and some things happen that don't sound okay. We're going to go through that and try to interpret it in a way that it'll make sense. It won't sound like it does right now. There is a certain way to interpret that if we all interpret it the same way, we would all come up with the same answer. Even if we were in different locations, we would understand it. But you have to understand it as an inner path, a personal inner path. What I'm going to do first is let's just read Genesis 12. I'll read it out loud, and I'm going to post it up on the screen, but as I go along, you're going to see that I modify the verbiage. I'm going to be reading from the King James Version, and something that I like to do for myself is make sure that if I am reading something that sounds kind of cryptic, that if I can repeat it in modern language in a way that makes sense to me, then I know I'm understanding what I'm reading. And it should sound a little bit different as I read it compared to what's there, but most of the Old English will be gone. Let's read Genesis 12. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Get out of your country, from your kindred and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless you, and curse him that curses you. And in you all families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your seed I will give all of this land." And there he built an altar to the Lord who appeared to him. And he left there and went to a mountain on the east of Bethel and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to go live there for a while, for the famine was really bad in the land. And as he came near and was getting close to Egypt, he said to Sarai his wife, "I know that you are a fair woman to look upon. Therefore, it's going to come to pass when the Egyptians see you, they're going to say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but they will save you. So please, I pray to you, tell them that you are my sister, so that it will go well with me for your sake, and my soul shall live because of you." And it came to pass, when Abram had gotten into Egypt, the Egyptians saw the woman, and that she was very fair. And the Pharaoh's princes saw her, and they commended her, telling Pharaoh about her. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake, and he had sheep and oxen and he-asses, and men-servants and maidservants and she-asses and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that you have done to me? How come you didn't tell me that she was your wife? Why did you tell me that she was your sister so that I took her for my wife? Now, get your wife, take her, and go your way." And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. Okay, for me, the story at first begs to be looked at as something that you don't interpret and ask yourself the viability of it. If I were to put myself in their shoes, I would say if I was Sarai, I just gave myself up to another man sexually, and my husband got goods for it. If I was Abram, I would have to say I just gave up my wife because I was afraid for my life, and but I got animals and slaves, male and female slaves, for her, and was it worth it? I don't know. Then we get kicked out. If I'm Pharaoh, I'm like, oh, that's a beautiful woman. It's his sister? Oh, I'm going to marry him. Thank you. Here's a bunch of stuff for her. I'm really happy. And then you get plagues, and you find out the guys, they lied to me. Why did you do that to me? So Pharaoh's the good guy here. Pharaoh didn't do anything wrong. Abram and Sarai did while God wasn't there. So I would have to reason to myself then that God had the capacity to create everything, all of it, the entire universe and humans, and that when it came to humans at some point in time underway, it was kind of up to them. They're still acting like animals, but that's okay. You want to trade off your partners for goods and things like that? Yeah, God wasn't there, was he? And then what happens to make the correction? How long does a plague take? Plural, plagues. How long was this going on if you look at the story? Plagues didn't happen in a couple of days or weeks or months. A plague usually takes like a year at least for one. So you look at the story and say it needs to be understood somehow differently. And what I'm going to suggest is that as we go through the interpretation, you will find out that this is very specifically written in a way that's going to mean something when we interpret it in the psyche. These are analogous terms in a metaphoric story. Let's crack it open. Okay, from here on out, this is only going to make sense to people who are on a seeking path, that have gotten to a certain point of understanding where they know they have to turn inward. That's where this comes into play. The entire thing is very difficult. I want to talk through a couple of things, and by the end of the video, I'll put this in plain language, today's modern language, after interpreting it through the video. But let's talk through, first of all, how we're going to interpret it. There are component parts in the story. If you observe it, you'll see a God, a man, a female, that there's a hierarchy in the story. You don't really pay attention to that, but it's there. That's meaningful. It's a 3-layer position of something in the mind. The Lord in this story is going to be something that we have direct access to. It's a mental part of our imagination that we can get to where we are detached from our emotions. Most people could recognize it from if you wake up early in the morning, tossing and turning, fitful, something's bothering you, whatever that is that just has you wrapped up. That's a very common thing. And whatever that is emerging at that point in time takes us over, and we toss and turn, can't get back to sleep. But every once in a while we notice this other voice popping in saying, you got to let it go. There's nothing you can do tonight. Go to sleep. And when we see that part and feel that part and experience that part, we don't feel the emotions, but we let go of it and go right back into the feelings right away. What we don't know is that that's the higher awareness. We've lost touch with it, but it's there all the time. We just don't realize that's what it is. We need to live through that. And as we get into it and look at it, what we realize is that this part of us existed right at the time we were born. This part of us was there, this part of our mentality, but we did not have the brain development to access it. We had no idea. What we're doing then is living life and then having experiences, and then we begin to live through our experiences, completely ignoring that higher awareness was there. What we're accumulating here is what Jesus would call the mote in your eye. That needs to be cleared out. What these are is the judgments in life that we're living through. Those determine the quality of our life, which is why when God sees in secret, you get rewarded in secret. That's it right there. That's the flow in life that you're getting. As we unfold these stories in the mind, that's what the Lord is. The man is the consciousness. Whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. They're writing these in a patriarchal society. They're using a hierarchy in the mind in the same way that life is. So God, man, woman, in the mind, higher awareness, consciousness, subconscious, inner being. The inner being is called our female self. So as we get into this story, the Lord is going to be our higher awareness. Abram is going to be our consciousness. Sarai is going to be our inner being. We could very easily classify that today as the conscious and the subconscious. We're going to get to a point where this has implications for our life that are mentally interactive, or at least that provide us with an understanding of where we come about. What I'm going to suggest is that I'm going to treat this material in the same way I treat Eastern material. If I'm reading the Dhammapada from Buddha or something from Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, that I'm going to treat that like it's my Buddha or my guru, and I'm going to ask questions. And the way that it's written would be the way you would ask questions, how you would understand. It starts off with, where do I come from? How do I come about? All of these are nested in this story. How is my life bad? How do I turn it around? I've been abused. I've been battered. I hurt. Life is not okay. Why is it not okay? All of the steps that are nested in there are very cryptic, and you have to work them through. If you treat the Bible the same way, you're going to come up with the same thing. They're using the same procedure, except that it has a lot of layers to it. They're using the sections of the mind to hold stories. Okay, all I can suggest at this point is you'll see when we go along. I'm going to show you something that I've done here. I've isolated chapter 12 out of the Bible, and I put it into a document on its own, and then I begin to work it. What I'm doing is doing some number counting. There's a numbering grid system that's happening in the background in Abrahamic material that it can't be seen unless you search for the number counts. You'd have to look through some of my earlier videos, but some of that's going to show up here, and I'm going to color code. Let's just take a look at something. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to take wherever it says Lord and change that to higher awareness. Wherever it says Abram, change that to conscious, and wherever it says Sarai, change that to subconscious. Let's take a look at a couple of things that I've done here, and let's see what it reveals. Okay, I know at first glance what I have up here is going to be very confusing. This is all of 12. I've taken it and made another copy, only this time I am working through and modifying it. And here's where I did this. I took Lord. Lord appears 7 times in this chapter. That's part of the 3-7 grid. 212 is also, because 200 is one of the numbers and 12 is one of the numbers, so we add them together. The Lord is the higher awareness. This is us. The higher awareness said to Abram, said to our conscious self. This didn't really happen. It's the way the story's going. This is us way in the beginning. Our higher awareness was there first. Then we come about. Get out of your country, away from your kindred and from your father's house, unto a land that I will show you. So this is us just beginning. If we were to go back to Genesis, the second creation story, here's the same part on the template there. Therefore, a man leaves his father and his mother and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. What that means is that each person, that's the man, leaves our beginnings where we came from and cling to our inner self. Our wife is the inner self, and we become one flesh. We are initially combined. We are not divided at this point in time in life. We're happy. We don't have any inner mental conflict. Chapter 12, that's where we are at the same point. We don't have inner mental conflict. We're beginning to start life. I wrote that, I rephrased it like this. From pure state beginnings, you will leave your home life behind. Life starts, but we are promised a place of our own. It will be our world, or our perceived reality. That's how the story is going to be. The world, all of it plays out in the mind. So all of this, we have to learn to transition that there. I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless you and make a great name, and you shall be a great blessing. These are parts of the stories that is just building up the character. This is the hero of the journey. You're going to have a great life. This is where Abrahamic traditions officially begin. Abram is going to become Abraham. And if you've heard, this, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's where that originates from here in Genesis. Abraham has Isaac, and then Jacob is the next along the line. Okay, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curses you, and in you all of the families of the earth shall be blessed. You see this all over, don't you? And I will bless them that bless you, and curse them that curse you. When you see that, you know what this is. It's always the same thing. This is cause and effect from the higher self. Cause and effect statement, as well as the understanding that whatever you decide as a judgment will become a part of your life. I will judge those that judge you, and bless those who bless you. This means good things as well as bad things. This is a mental process. This is like, judge not, for the measure which you judge, you will experience life back. I paraphrase that, obviously. We will have the power to judge our life experiences and create them within us in any emotional manner. We don't know that. All the families means all of our qualities. They will emerge from or be blessed by us. Blessed doesn't, that is something that we have decided upon. Curse that curse and bless that bless. We have the power to create good or bad by our decision-making process. It's all mental. So the conscious self departed as the higher awareness, and 70 and 5 years old. 70 is one of the analogs, the good analogs, and 5 is one of the good analogs that we're collecting. That's a good pure place. And he departed out of Haran. Haran is going to be a bad place. Came up 13 in all of Genesis. The first number is how many times it appears in this chapter, and then the second number is how many times it appears in Genesis. This would translate to, we are our early, pure child self, not yet divided. Lot comes along like Cain and Abel element. Not yet our divided self. We leave our beginnings behind. The conscious self took your inner self. We call wife. Wife is going to become the corrupt. Sarai is pure. Wife is corrupted somehow in this material. And Lot, his brother's son, and all their substance they had gathered in the soul they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. Canaan is a good place. Canaan is the destination. Every story has a destination, whether it's nirvana, better flow in the Tao, the kingdom of heaven within, the Holy Grail. Canaan's happy land, yeah. So that is where they came. But in this story, Canaan is the destination holder for a mental place. There are many of these inner pieces, what they mean. Nirvana, kingdom of heaven within, rule of your kingdom, return of your land or vineyard, and very many more. All the stories create a destination, and Canaan is a placeholder for this mental state of being where we seek to rest or complete our inner journey to purity. And the conscious self passed through the land unto the place of Sichem and unto the place of Moreh, and the Canaanite was in the land. Let's just jump over some details and get some bigger things. I don't know all of this. So here we have the Lord, the higher awareness, appeared to the conscious self, built an altar, and so what this is setting up right here is we're going to return back to this point in life. We are kind of this is going to be a rare person. It's hard to extract out of here. Let me get down to the big pieces. As he removed thence a mountain on the east, he's not quite underway. Here we go. Now we're starting. The conscious self journeyed on still toward the south. We're now going to have first sin experience. Next, there was a famine in the land, and the conscious self went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. Egypt represents life experiences. Pharaoh represents life experiences. That's what I've got. Accumulated, judged, early life experiences. That would be like sin. First sin. Okay, let's get back up here. And it came to pass when he was come near unto Egypt, he said unto Sarai being his wife, behold now the fair woman. Okay, so this is not really happening. What is happening in this part of the story right here is that we're just simply going out. We're leaving the higher awareness behind. God doesn't help us. Why is that? This is that part of our life where we have left our childhood connection with the higher awareness, and we are living life not knowing that it's there. So that's why the Lord is not helping us. The Lord is the higher self, and this is the time we're living life unaware of that. They will kill me, blah, blah, blah. So this is just a way of carrying the story. The sister is, you're giving up your inner self to life experiences, and what happens as a result, those life experiences are that It's called having sex with. Why is that? There's an offspring as a result. And the offspring are held in the idea that you now have slaves and animals. So this is all of you. You left your higher awareness behind, the Lord. You took your wife Sarai and you left where there was a famine. That would be like leaving Eden when you were eating the wrong things. Except in this case, they had nothing there, so they went somewhere to eat, and the corruption happened there. It's still roughly holding the same elements as you move along, conceptual elements. And that we see that the conscious self was treated well. We had sheep and oxen. Treated well, we've got to make sure that these are animals. We've collected these things. The sheep, 1:18, and oxen, 1:5. So sheep are going to be the bad thing to have, and oxen are going to be the good thing. I didn't continue on with looking at these. But what do we have? In the higher awareness, plagued pain cycles. Higher awareness creates pain cycles from the accumulated early judged life experiences. And the pain cycles continue because of the inner being and Abram, the corrupted inner being. Yeah, do you see how hard it is to unwrap this? It's easier for me to read it in my head than it is to try to say it out loud. I'm not good at this. The accumulated judged life early experiences and the conscious self. So this is really us looking to move on. It's time for us to say, this early life is not okay. Pharaoh wants me to leave. I am taking my corrupted self and all of the things, and I am leaving. The Pharaoh accumulated judged early life experiences, commanded his men concerning him. So we got we left, and we're not going to come back to here. So let me see if we can get that right. Let me talk through it. So in the beginning, we are pure. We're Abram and Sarai in a place of famine because we have not consumed anything in life, spiritual consumption. We don't have knowledge. We don't have the knowledge of good and evil. We don't have life experiences. We have not judged life and have not created mental, emotional, stored conflicts within our mind that we're now going to become living through and experiencing life through. That higher awareness. Get there and think about it. Play with it. This existed before our life experience existed. This was a part of us before. So we're trying to engage with that again. It was there to begin with. That's when we had all of our childhood deja vu and, you knew who was coming in the door before it popped open. All those things that were happening, they don't mean much, but that stuff fades away because we start living through our life experiences. Now, so the entire representation there that the Lord put you someplace where there's a famine, well, that's good. You're starting out empty, devoid. Then you go off and have life experiences. You're going to go to Egypt and you're going to start accumulating things in your inner self from the union of life experiences. And they're going to be things that you're going to have to take with you. But at some point, you're told to leave. And the entire story makes it sound like it's a pretty weak man and woman if they're doing something like that. Or is that just normal back then? We're going to do something like this. We trade up our spouses to get animals and slaves and things like that. It's a hard thing to consider. But if I look at it the way that I look at all other material, what I see something here is that there's something here in common with other material and in common with a lot of other stories in the Bible, as long as you continue to interpret them this way. There are different variations of carrying this. And I'll do a video on the next step. Abram and Sarai are going to move on. This is us in life. So as this story goes on, it's going to be what happens next to us. Now we're on this path. What emerges as we go along. That's what we're trying to extract from here to see what we need to do next. Right here, it's telling us, as our guru, how you came about, that there's cause and effect, that you have the power to create from up here. And whatever you decide that curses you, I'll curse. It's you. You're the one that gets cursed or not, based on your own decisions. We leave that behind, though. The higher awareness is the one that can help us not experience that emotional pain, but we leave it behind until we're wrecked in emotional pain. Now we're looking at some point in time to reconnect with it. And that's what when we begin on the healing path, that's one of the first things we do is we have to reconnect with and understand what that higher awareness is. Because if you get there and look at it, you look at yourself, you realize it exists outside of your emotional feelings. Yet it's still up here. You need to know that and practice getting there. It will be a place to live from where the hurt is not there. And from here, we begin to manage bit by bit the hurt pieces until a healing takes place, until the healing is complete. I will tell you that this is going to be a very big, long story variant of something that Jesus says, that let's just put it on the table right now. That if you go to the altar to leave a gift, and while you're there, you recall you have aught against your brother, set your gift down, first go resolve the aught, then come back and give your gift, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you in secret. What this is interpreting to is that if you are trying to have a better life, that's why you're going to the altar to give a gift. You're looking for God's graces. God, please give me a better life. You're looking for a better life, and you remember you're dragging stuff with you. Don't keep looking for that better life. This right here is the mote in your eye. You need to go resolve that. Go get rid of this stuff. It's not just your neighbor that you were angry at. No, it's the stuff that you hold up here that's from the past that you're dragging with you all the time. That's the ought. That's the stuff at the deep level that we're living through that people don't want to go after. And so in this story right here with Abram and Sarai, what just happened right now is the accumulation of that massive, the ought against your brother. They are beginning to accumulate that in a different style of verse. But in the psyche, that's it. Yes, these are the things that we're bringing with us that are going to be a part of us because we have given up our inner being. We now have ought against our brother. We now have slaves and animals and different things. Not all the things we're bringing with us are bad things. We are also bringing good things with us. We're learning everything. It's the bad stuff we need to get rid of, not the good stuff, if that makes sense. And, okay, well, that's what I want to say is carried at the template level. Whatever there is as far as the rest of the story, that's up to other people. I have heard people angrily tell me that this just happened the way it is and that's, just accept it. And I look at that and go, wow, why would you do that? Don't you want to find something else more about it? It does make sense. And it's not a horrific thing if you interpret it. If you don't interpret it, whew. But you know what? I'm going to contend right now. You saw what I just did with that story? You have to do that with everything in the Bible. Everything. When you do that, there's no more conflict. But sex isn't what we think it is. Man on man isn't what we think it is. Being drunk isn't what we think it is. Being naked isn't what we think it is. We have to understand everything needs to be interpreted. They're analogous terms. But once you see them, you realize they follow a very consistent pattern. And in the Bible, that numbering grid actually is it's like a dictionary. It's like, I don't know if this is a good word or a bad word. How many times was it repeated? Oh, 12 times. Well, then it's a good thing. How about this one? 18 times. That's 1 over 17. That's a bad thing. At some point, it's incredibly deep, but without having it memorized, we can't see it. We don't have access to the magic that is in there because we're not looking at it right. We're just hanging on to the outside. Well, I'll bring this to an end. There's a point where I am reading these stories and I'm understanding the pattern and the flow. And as I go through there, as I read them, I'm automatically putting myself in the position of the mental hierarchy. That I know I'm Abram and Sarai, that I'm Abraham and Sarah as a different iteration. I know those things, so I'm putting them in as I go. It gets more complicated because the stories, they just put in bigger and bigger elements. It's more pieces in the same place up here. You can have one enemy or you can have 1,000,000 enemies, but it's an enemy. So it just depends on how big they want to make it. You can have 10 plagues that go on for chapters, or you can have a wheel that follows with pain. They're both carrying the idea of cyclical pain. So they can be very big or very small elements. But once you begin to recognize them and see the pattern, that it becomes easier to see what they're doing in the material. But you have to go after it. And the numbering background thing, we won't know that unless we had it memorized. It's the 3-7 Eden grid, I call it. Okay, it's in all of Abrahamic material. It's a mind-boggling thing. We can't see it. Hope the video was interesting, and I'll see you in the next one.